All right, so officially welcome everyone to the Monday evening session.
Now,
Sue, John, and Lucy. Hopefully, a couple of others will join us. We'll see. So, Lucy, you wanted to share something from the Quran. That sounds interesting.
Well, I was studying the Surah Al-Falaq with my Sufi group, which is one of the surahs from the Quran. And, it's really good. It's a really fantastic surah, and the way that he interprets it's really helpful. But towards the end, something came up around non-duality. And, I realized this sort of like, there's an uncomfortableness somehow in me because the conversation had come up again, because there wasn't a non-duality kind of aspect in this work. It's very much, it's in life, it's in it's in your everyday. It's kind of like very immediate to your life, to your body and to your life. And my teacher was saying the idea of non-duality is an abstract idea. He said, but so his interpretation is that if you have a body, if you eat, then the non-duality aspect isn't a complete picture. You are dealing with this body, and in this surah you're dealing with things like evil and things that are really difficult to stomach. And these surahs look at relationships. I mean, I feel like we do go into that, but I'm interested now in this idea of non-duality, because I noticed that it's always kind of confused me a bit. Yeah.
Okay. So your question is, you have a question, or you just?
I think the question. What's the question? Yeah, where is dealing with this body and dealing with, where is this body in relation to non-duality?
Well, Jesus is pretty clear. He's saying you're not a body. The body doesn't really exist in truth. However, he acknowledges that in your experience, in your belief, it does exist. So that's kind of the paradox, that, he doesn't just say, okay, well, you're just going to flat outright deny the body. In fact, he says that's a particularly unworthy form of denial.
Yeah.
What you do is you reinterpret the body as a useful vehicle for your learning. And so the only purpose of the body is it's a communication device. It's a vehicle for your learning of this non-dual truth. And it's the purpose of the body is to facilitate that, to help you to learn what you need to learn in this life, so that ultimately you can escape from the body. So it's a perspective on the body. Jesus isn't saying don't have any attitude towards the body and just deny it outright. He says that's virtually impossible to do. But he's saying see it properly, see it in proper perception of the body, which then doesn't make the body real in itself. So the danger if you don't have a non-dual teaching, a non-dual so-called abstract understanding, what you will tend to do is make the body real. That's what everyone does. We make it real in our perception. The body becomes important in and of itself. Oh no, I've got to take care of the body. And we start subconsciously identifying with the body as our home, as some kind of real entity that needs to be taken care of, looked after, protected. It's not a big step to go from I need to take care of the body to I need to protect the body. See? Very, very subtle little. So what Jesus is trying to say is, look, just don't put undue attention on the body. Really try and come from the place above the body.
But do take care of the body.
Yeah, he's not saying don't take care of it. I mean, at some point he says, if the mind is clear and you're rooted in pure formless awareness, then very very little will be needed to be done with the body. It needs no care, no attention. no, costly defenses. None of this stuff is really necessary once you're rooted in your true awareness. And then, on a practical, functional level, yeah, okay. So you might need to sleep, you eat, you do what's necessary, but without really making the body into something that's terribly important. So that's really the art of it. Yeah, so I can live. It's like quite a useful analogy. It's like a vehicle. Okay, you are not your car. Clearly, well, some people, again, they misident. They think they are their car. They buy a fancy car and then they have an attachment to it. Their identity gets involved with it. But for most people, like, okay, I'm not my car. It's a vehicle, and the vehicle needs to be serviced, and the vehicle needs to be maintained so it can go from A to B. Without the vehicle, you couldn't go to Edinburgh. You couldn't go to your daughter's. It's pretty useful in the world of time and space to have a vehicle. So in the same way, the body's a vehicle, right? It's going to carry you from A to B. It's going to take you on your journey along the timeline. I'll just share my screen here so that you can see this timeline. So the body is what carries you from birth to death. On this timeline, it allows you to interact in the matrix. It allows you to have these experiences, and so it's in and of itself, it's not important at all. These experiences are illusory, right? So if you make the body and these experiences real, then you're delusional. However, these experiences give you the forgiveness opportunities that are necessary to correct your mind. So without those experiences, you don't learn your lessons, you don't go home. So the body is quite useful as the vehicle to facilitate these experiences, and then perceived correctly, it becomes quite helpful, a helpful, useful vehicle for the mind to learn, what it needs to learn. And we actually, later in this chapter, we're going to get to there's two sections on the body, which are quite revealing in this context. We talks about the proper attitude to the body.
Okay.
So the danger of like a dualistic teaching is there's no reference point. A dualistic teaching is really saying, well, therefore this is real. It might on some level say, okay, there is another dimension, but no, we need to forget that. That's very abstract. It's not practical. Let's come down onto the timeline and let's focus on what needs to be done, in time and space with the body. And if you don't have this reference point of the timeless and the eternal, then the danger is you forget and you start identifying with the body, and that then just roots you on the timeline, and it keeps you stuck here. If you never transcend in your mind during your life, and you continuously believe that the body is important and real, then you're going to reincarnate, because that's what your mind believes, that you need a body in order to exist. So when you leave, you just bypass pure formless awareness, because you don't know what that means, and you come back because your attachment is to a body. So and there's many teachers who are not non-dual. There's many spiritual teachers who teach dualism. In fact, that's more common than non-dual. Non-dual is quite rare. A pure non-dual teacher is quite rare in this world. So you have to take it from whence it comes and make a decision in your own mind. Well, which teaching are you going to follow? Because ultimately, you can't really compromise dual and non-dual. As Jesus is very clear, I mean, he's telling us over and over and over again, you must choose between the ego and the spirit. Those are your choices, and they do not reconcile in any way, shape, or form. So while you're here, your job is to choose the spirit and interpret everything on this timeline, including the body, from this perspective.
Well, what's interesting, so looking at this surah, okay, and they were written at a time and also in a culture where people didn't have so much a sense of duality. They lived much more, they worshipped much more themselves as elementals, like spirit was not I think the way that they connected was quite different to the way that we connect, and so the idea of non-duality probably isn't very relevant. And I think what I understood, I mean, this surah was definitely about, what comes up, the problems that come up, and how to go through the eye of the needle, to go through that, the issues that come up, and to stay connected with the heart, to stay in the heart of it, to forgive. So it's a very similar system, really, to the one that we're teaching, that we're learning in the course. Really similar, very much forgiveness, going through it. But it was just this term that came up, the non-duality term. But I actually don't think that there's much difference in it. It sort of feels like a bit of an intellectual kind of, do you know what I mean? It's like, because we've become so attached to the body and to looking a particular way in this culture, the idea of non-duality is quite a stretch for a lot of people, because we've become so individualized. And I think in these ancient cultures, the individualized self was quite a different thing. So I don't see it as that the choice is any different. The choice is still the choice for spirit, for pure formless awareness, through the difficulties of life. And I don't. For me, that I don't feel that there's a discrepancy or a.
What about the perception? I think maybe what your teacher was saying was, look, we've got to still deal with things on this level.
Exactly.
The Course is pretty practical. He's saying, that's why it's the Course in Miracles. Yes, you're dealing all the time with things on this level. He's not saying deny the body entirely, because that's virtually impossible. He's saying just perceive everything differently. Change your perception, because that's the way out. That's the way back. Home. And so, any authentic spiritual path that's effective is going to be helping you do that. Change your perception. What's going on here? So, whether you call that, well, you're going into your heart, you're forgiving, or you're letting go, or you're surrendering. The methodology in is pretty similar. There's an idea. Yes, we need to let go of certain ideas and misperceptions, and restore our minds to a place of wholeness, a place where we feel okay again. And however you want to frame that, there's many languages, there's many thought systems, beliefs in various spiritual teachings, but essentially it's the same process. And you are, if you're really letting go, you are referencing to this. Because where else do you go? If you let go of this timeline, then there's only pure formless awareness or love that's left. Those are the alternatives. And whether you call that, forgiveness in Course in Miracles terms, or letting go, or surrender, or going into your heart, it's the same process, really. You're going into a deeper place in your mind, and finding some peace and serenity and security there, and detaching to some degree from what's going on the timeline. So maybe no. I mean, I don't know the Sufi teachings in detail. I know a little bit about them. I've never been on a Sufi path, but I've listened to some Sufis, and as I understood it, it's very much in alignment with Course in Miracles, Advaita. It's a understanding. It's based on the understanding there is another reality. There is this transcendent dimension that you can call, whatever. And the Sufis are connected to that, and their whole, path is to cultivate that awareness.
It's the path of the heart. So it's like dusting the mirror of the heart, of the troubles that we have as humans, and returning to the face before birth. I mean, that's often used, that term, but returning to returning to pure formless awareness, actually, that sense of going deep beyond the surface of the heart and the problems of the heart, deeper, deeper, deeper. And it is the letting go. I mean, it's different language, but it's the same. It feels the same, actually. It feels the same sort of.
Well, that's the thing, is to focus on the process. So what's actually happening actually happening. Forget the dogma and the terms and whatever. What's actually happening in my mind if I follow that process or that path? And another one. And if you compare them, and really there's no difference. It's a letting go and a deepening into heart, into mind, deeper mind, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's just language. These are just pointers to an experience that's beyond language. So you say you're going into your heart. Course in Miracles would say, you're going back to God. Doesn't use the heart so much. In fact, almost never uses heart, I think, in Course in Miracles. Just terminology, saying you're going into a deeper part of your mind. Course in Miracles talks about mind.
Yeah.
Well, it's just language. What is this deeper mind? What is the heart? It's the same place. Whatever you want to call that place. And so a very similar experience. You should have the same experience. You're going into the deeper part of your mind, into pure formless awareness. Again, that's our term. Jesus doesn't use pure formless awareness. He uses God or love. Whatever the term is, but it's going into an awareness of that. And the Sufis might call that going, back to the face before birth, back to, your heart. Just go on the experience. What does it feel like? Does it feel deeper? Does it feel like you're transcending the ego? Is it helping you to let go of mental and emotional turbulation, to find peace? And if it's doing that, then that's working.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
You do it through a Sufi, path, or through a Course in Miracles. It's one curriculum. The only curriculum is to return your mind to God.
Yeah.
The different paths and labels, in the end, don't matter, provided you're doing that. Provided it's not a path that's taking you away from God or pure formless awareness. That's what you need to be vigilant on. So there are paths that won't take you there. That will concentrate on worldly matters and kind of help you to use spirituality to be successful in the world. That's quite a common distortion, because the purpose is wrong. It's not. No, you're not using spirituality to be successful in the world because you want success or whatever you want on a worldly level. That's the wrong way around. You're going into the spirituality because ultimately you want salvation from the world. You want to escape the world. And what shows up on the level of form is a nice byproduct. If you get some miracles showing up here and stuff happens, okay, cool, great. There's nothing to say you can't have good experiences, happy experiences, abundance, whatever. Yeah, but the primary purpose is to return your mind to spirit. The primary purpose is not to get a result on the level of form. And that's a very important distinction that you need to be honest about. What am I intending here? Am I really focused on the outcome on the level of form, or am I just focused on going back to this awareness, and the form will be what it will be. It will flow. It will unfold from my change in awareness. What's the primary intention? So that's how to distinguish between an authentic spiritual path and one that's not. Primary intention is to improve your life in the world. You're on the wrong track, because that's not the primary intention. Primary intention is to go back to God and find peace and joy and happiness. And then, yes, your circumstances and your experience here will almost certainly improve. But that's not primary, that's secondary. Okay, makes sense?
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Help a little bit?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so anything else to share, anyone? Or shall we have a little look at the quote and then the lesson? I'm just going to amplify this. Okay, so there we go. So Lucy, would you like to read Read the quote from Eckhart.
Okay. You don't need to be a Christian to understand the deep universal truth that is contained in symbolic form in the image of the cross. The cross is a torture instrument. It stands for the most extreme suffering, limitation, and helplessness a human being can encounter. Then suddenly that human being surrenders, suffers willingly, consciously, expressed through the words, "Not my will, but thy will be done." At that moment, the cross, the torture instrument, shows its hidden face. It is also a sacred symbol, a symbol for the divine. That which seemed to deny the existence of any transcendental dimension to life, through surrender, becomes an opening into that dimension.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that living via the ego is the path of suffering, and that symbol therefore takes on that meaning. The cross, the arms outstretched, the sense of limitation and suffering, helplessness. But that term spoken by Jesus, "Not my will, but thy will be done," returns one to the only will, the will of the pure formless awareness will, not my will.
I think it's all in that. I think it's all in that last sentence, that which seemed to deny the existence of any transcendental dimension to life, through surrender becoming into that dimension.
Which is really, if we look at this diagram, this is what our whole life is about. Whatever the dramas and the difficulties, it seems to deny the transcendent dimension, but through surrender or letting go becomes an opening into that dimension. So everything becomes a forgiveness opportunity, another opportunity to let go of the ego's belief system, and really it's to live that way, to live as though we're dying. I said die every day, die to the little self every day. So that crucifixion was an extreme example of what we should be engaged in continuously. Let go of the old self, die to the old self, and in that process accept this transcendent dimension into our awareness, into our life. So actually a major, that's why I said it's a major teaching. Jesus' final teaching, the crucifixion, was his master teaching. So, well, look, this is what seems to be happening. But no matter what seems to be happening, you can do what I've done. You can choose to forgive. And you can choose to allow that experience to restore your mind to God, if you choose. So the whole thing was to show that there is only this transcendent dimension, only eternal life or awareness is the ultimate truth. So to experience this transcendent dimension is the only reason for suffering. It's only when we suffer that we're motivated to give up the ego's thought system that makes us suffer. It's those thoughts and emotions that the ego sponsors that makes us suffer. And return to believing in our true identity as eternal life, or phrased even more succinctly, suffering is necessary until you realize it's unnecessary. Until you realize what the program is, you suffer. When you realize that your suffering is designed to help you undo your ego and it's a path back to God, then you don't need to suffer anymore. Because you've reinterpreted what was suffering into something that's a lesson, a forgiveness lesson. And that takes a lot of learning, to recognize that your suffering is really for you, happening for you, to free your mind, rather than something that's happening to you and you're the victim of, is a major learning for all of us. Because in the moment, when suffering happens, your mind naturally goes, well, why is this happening to me? Or, oh, poor me, I'm going to blame someone else for my suffering. And misinterpret it, project it out. Remember, that's what the ego is always doing, rather than saying, okay, so what can I learn from this? How is this reflective of my own beliefs that are false, that are actually the problem? And then to let it go. And then it becomes an opening into that transcendent dimension. So, to take your example, John, today, you had the kind of suffering on some level. It wasn't, a pleasant experience, but then you reinterpreted it, you did a forgiveness process, and you freed yourself. You released that.
Mm.
And so it was an opening into that transcendent dimension. And you did it quickly as well. So you don't need to wait hours, days, weeks, months, years. You can do it immediately.
Mm.
Just do the correction, and you then stop the suffering. And then you can just let it go and be like, okay, I'm okay with it. That doesn't mean on a level of form, your daughter may still have her stuff going on, and that's okay. But you're free of it. That's the main thing.
Mm.
You don't suffer. And then it releases you to experience this happiness, bliss, nirvana, bliss, ecstasy, that then becomes an undercurrent in your life. So even if you're not experiencing that at an intense level, it's just an underlying feeling of contentment and peace that runs through your life. The more you do this, and you do realize that no matter what happens, you're unshakable, because you can always let it go, and you can always restore your mind to this underlying peace, which is what Jesus calls full transfer of training. You can transfer this training to every aspect of your life, to every situation. That's full transfer, which means that consistent happiness, peace, love, and this experience of flow must arise in your experience. If you apply this consistently to every part of your life, that's what he's trying to get us to do, to not make exceptions. Whatever the situation is, apply forgiveness or letting go. Okay. Did you watch the movie, by the way?
Well, we watched it a while back.
Okay.
Actually,
So
fancy watching it again, actually.
Well, maybe over the Easter weekend, it's quite an appropriate movie for the Easter weekend. We can watch it as our movie, our movie evening. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
It's the perfect movie for the Easter weekend, I would say, given what Easter symbolizes. So we'll do that in a couple of weeks, I think, is the Easter weekend. And we'll I'll go through it, just like I did with the Matrix, and give commentary and stuff. Okay, so that moves us on to the lesson 57. So should we go into that? John, do you want to start off with paragraph 1?
I am not the victim of the world I see, perceive. How can I be the victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? My chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. The prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight at last. Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of takes me back to this afternoon, does that? In the sense of, I was really feeling kind of completely lacking of all energy, just completely washed out, and couldn't get into anything, and it was kind of like walking around in a fog. And I kind of had this distant recollection that I could do something about it, but I couldn't kind of engage with it. And then this little opening of, well, I could do that 10-step process went through my mind, and I kind of made space to do that.
Good. Did you do it in a meditation, or did you do it written one?
I did the written one. I like it in that written format.
Good. And that's why these processes are there, so that when you need them, it's like, okay, there, I've got a tool. I can use it. You just got to remember that you have it.
Yeah.
And use it in those times when you're really in the fog. And then, that decision is the decision to walk into the sunlight, just to let it go. Walk out of the ego's fog and back into the light of your true awareness. My chains are loosened. So did you see that those chains are in your own mind?
Yes, very much so.
But irrespective of your daughter's attitude, it's your own attitudes, thoughts, beliefs that are causing the problem. Which is what he's saying here. You're not the victim of the world you see or perceive, because, as he goes on to explain in number 2, you've invented it. I've invented the world I see or perceive. Do you want to read that one, Sue?
Yep. I have invented the world I see or perceive. I made up the prison in which I see myself. All I need do is recognize this, and I am free. I have deluded myself into believing it is possible to imprison the sun, the extension of pure formless awareness. I was bitterly mistaken in this belief, which I no longer want. The sun, the extension of pure formless awareness, must be forever free. He is as pure formless awareness created him, and not what I would make of him. He is where pure formless awareness would have him be, and not where I thought to hold him prisoner.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, all the situations we find ourselves in where we're not at peace come from our made-up world.
Yeah. So if we made it up, then we can't be imprisoned by it.
Yeah. We have to recognize that we've made it up, and then we can laugh at it, set ourselves free.
We can laugh at it and let it go.
Yeah.
Which is the best way to, one of the best ways to undo the ego. It's just to laugh at it. Actually, I don't know if you watched that little clip from the Oscars where there's that famous slap that Will Smith. And I just thought, what, that guy, Chris Rock, was actually amazing. Because he just laughed at it. He was like, okay. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me, and he made a joke of it. He didn't get angry, and it was like all of that anger just kind of got dissipated, and he just kind of rose above it. It was amazing. I was like, wow, really, he handled it amazingly well. Just with humor, just by laughing. And like Will Smith just looked like a bit of a idiot who's just angry and aggressive. And Chris Rock's like, well, it's just a joke, mate. Take it, just don't get so serious about it. So it was the two thought systems. It was so interesting. Just these two thought systems, and just how you can really dissipate that ego. I mean, it was a direct assault or attack physical. And yet Chris Rock was like, well, I'm just going to laugh it off. It means nothing. And who knows what was going on in his mind afterwards. Maybe he had some stuff to process. But in the moment, he really responded very well to it, I thought. Just laughing it off and making a joke of it, rather than taking it seriously and getting sucked in to that level of like Will Smith wanted to fight him, argument, and he just went, no, it was just a joke, made light of it. Very interesting. So we invented it all, and we can make light of it. If it's all an invention, it's just a tiny mad idea, then how can we be imprisoned by it? So these are like little sutras, aren't they? Just little. Is that what a sura is, Lucy? It's just like a little passage, like a sutra.
Yeah, I guess it's like
Sounds like the same root word.
It's like a practice. Yeah, it's like a lot of it's like a prayer. It's like a prayer, really. Just like a surah, it's like a prayer. Yeah.
So it's quite a short little excerpt from the Quran. Is that what a surah is?
No, they can be really long. Some surahs are like incredibly long. They just go on and on.
Right.
But within them, like they're kind of homeopathic doses for life, for being here. So within them, there's a lot in them, but the words are, ancient words which have a different kind of flavor to them. Like they're less divided. Like English language is quite divided. Yeah. So I guess there are other forms of prayer. Yeah, many other forms of prayer.
So these are just like little sutras.
Sutra.
Just a short paragraph, but so clear. What I love about them is it's so clear. Just very, very clear. I've invented the world I see, and then he gives you this short little paragraph on about it. It helps you just to get very clear. No, I'm not the victim of the world I see because I invented it. So how can I be the victim of what I invented? And you see how the one thought leads to another.
I'm just struggling a little bit again with this word created.
Okay.
He is as God loved, pure formless awareness created him.
Yeah. Maybe I should have changed that to extended. Created or extended him. Not what I would make of him. So the idea of creation is that it's your being, it's your beingness. That is actually eternal. So what he's pointing to when he said you were created is that you have this eternal being. So I think it's sometimes more helpful to use another word, because created in our mind implies that once not, and then we were created. Then we came into some kind of being. But if we're eternal, then that's not the case.
So it's more like I made it up in terms of this tiny mad idea. I'm not the victim of the world I see because I made it up.
And that miscreation is a denial of my true creation or extension, right? I am pure formless awareness. So pure formless awareness extended me, right? I'm an extension of pure formless awareness. That's all I am. When we use the language created and extended, only because in our separated state, that's what it seems to be. But actually, in truth, we are that presence. That's all we are. And that presence is always there. It's eternal. It simply is us. So then, in language, we say, well, he extended us. But that's not even true. We are that. We are that. We always have been that. And the language is used just to reconnect us with that awareness, to remind us, no, you are that. So use whichever language is most helpful to reminding yourself that this isn't something that you were created to be. Like once you didn't exist and then suddenly you existed because God created you. No, you were always there, right? Your true nature, your mind was always there, always been there, always has been, always will be, because it's the nature of mind is eternal being. You are that presence and nothing else. Does that help a little bit, John, to interpret that? Just don't think of it as created in terms of some kind of linear time.
No.
It's not on the timeline. It's above the timeline. So we are extended. If you look at this, God didn't create us like on a linear timeline. So there was once a time when we weren't existing, and then bingo, because that would imply time, wouldn't it? Something happened that wasn't always there, then it implies that. So the creation he's referring to is this. It's coming from God or love or pure formless awareness, and we are that. So now in our minds, if we allow that presence to come back, then you could say, well, God extended you. You are the extension of pure formless awareness, because now that awareness is your awareness. But in truth, it's the same awareness. It's one awareness, and that's all that it is. So it goes beyond creation and extension, because those all imply some kind of time-space idea, don't they? But actually, there is no time and there is no space in this. But this becomes quite hard to describe in language, doesn't it? Because language is dualistic and involves time-space normally. So that he uses the word created. Well, just change the word if you don't like it. That pure formless awareness extended him. Does that work better for you?
Yeah, it's definitely better.
Because it doesn't imply that you didn't exist at some point, then you were suddenly created. It implies, well, you're just an extension of that same awareness. Okay. In other words, an extension must be that awareness. The extension is not separate from the source from which it was extended. It's one awareness. And all we did was we made up another awareness. We go to our little sent into hell, at least once today. We just had this tiny mad idea of separation, and then we made up an entire world based on it. So that's a miscreation. Mind has now misused its power to miscreate and put us in an illusion. And he's saying, well, you just invented all of this. You invented the tiny mad idea, you invented the separate self, you invented the world that is a result of the tiny mad idea and the separate self. And now you think you're imprisoned by them, but how can this imprisonment be real if you invented it? The idea is your own miscreation. The source of it is not true. Well, you can't really be in prison. You're only in prison to the extent that you believe it. If you believe it, then you're imprisoned by your own belief, but you don't have to believe it. You can look at all of it and say, what a crazy invention this was. Just really mad. And I'm not going to believe in it in any way, shape, or form. And then you're free. Okay, any other comments on that? Want to give us a little summary of that too?
Well, I've made up the world that I see and created a prison that I think I can't escape from, when in fact it's all just an illusion, and all I have to do is let it go and I can be free.
Yeah, actually really, really simple. When we decide.
Yeah.
He's asking us to make that decision. Then, what happens on the body level? Yes, the body's still going to knock around for a bit, still going to have an experience in this world. But mentally and emotionally, you're not bound to it anymore. You're not making it real. That's the enlightened state he's trying to take our minds into. And then we're free, even though we continue to walk the world in a body. We're free mentally and emotionally. And our minds are prepared for heaven. There's no blocks to that awareness anymore. Okay, happy with number 32?
Yeah.
33? Lucy, will you read that for us?
There is another way of looking at the world. Since the purpose of the world is not the one I ascribe to it, there must be another way of looking at it. I see everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of truth. I see the world as a prison for the extension of pure formless awareness. It must be then that the world is really a place where he can be set free. I would look upon this world as it is, and see it as a place where the extension of pure formless awareness finds freedom. Well, that's clear. It's like, yeah, I'm seeing it the wrong way up. If I'm looking at it from my ego's perspective, I'm seeing it as something where life plays out and I'm kind of stuck in this sort of thing that I don't have any agency about. It's just like stuck in the matrix, I guess. But actually, the truth of it is that, it's the opposite to what I think it is, actually. And that it is just a place where I can set myself free. Yeah.
I can look at it or perceive it. So maybe read from the screen and read it with perceive instead of see. See how that makes?
I'll read it from here, but I'll read it with perceive. Read the whole thing with perceive, yeah?
Yeah. Instead of look or see. Perceive.
Okay. There is another way of perceiving there is another way of perceiving the world. Another way of looking at perceiving. Yeah, there is another way of perceiving the world. Since the purpose of the world is not the one I ascribe to it, there must be another way of perceiving it. I see everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite. Oh, sorry. I perceive everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of truth. I perceive the world as a prison for the extension of pure formless awareness. It must be then that the world is really a place where I can be set free. I would perceive the world as it is and perceive it as a place where the extension of pure formless awareness finds his freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to see.
The idea of perception it means we don't get confused with physical sight, because when he's using see here, he's not really talking about physical sight. He's talking about perception, which is a function of the mind. How we perceive something, that involves our beliefs, interpretations, create perceptions. So another way of looking at, another way of seeing is really perceiving. And this is what this course is directed towards helping you do, is change your perception. See the world as a place where the extension of love or pure formless awareness, which is you, find your freedom. That's the only purpose of it. So, we reference to that conversation with Alan Watts, and he says, well, the world has no purpose. The purpose of the world is simply to experience. And this teaching is saying, no, the purpose of the world is as a place where you can correct your misperceptions and your illusions and free your mind and restore your mind to its true nature as pure formless awareness. So there is a transcendent purpose. But if we misperceive, we don't understand that purpose, then we're going to misperceive, aren't we? If you think the world is for something and it's not for that, then everything you're going to perceive in it is going to be upside down. So the world is for experience on the physical level. To, well, just enjoy the experience. Okay, so what happens if I don't enjoy the experience? What happens if I'm having a really terrible experience? Is the purpose of it to experience the terrible experience then? As well as the good experiences? Okay, so it's just duality, to experience two sides of the same coin. For what purpose? Doesn't really make sense, that teaching. So this non-dual teaching gives you proper perspective on the world. And with that proper perspective, you can perceive everything truly, and you can live in the world, but not be of the world. And you can use your experiences in the world for what they're really for, which is correction of your mind. But you see how important purpose is. You know, the purpose you give to everything, the meaning you give to everything will determine your perceptions. If you have a false purpose and a false meaning, then what can you expect but upside down perception? And then we perceive the world as a prison. So I imprisoned myself in this alternative experience. I wanted to experience something else, but God, but pure formless awareness. Then I imprisoned myself in it. And now I think that I'm subject to these laws I made up. When in fact, the desire for an alternative experience is the problem. You can just undo that merely by desiring to do so. And letting go of your false desire for an alternative experience. Okay? Any questions on number 33?
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Pretty straight. It's pretty straightforward lessons, actually. They're really to the point.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, John.
I could perceive peace instead of this. When I perceive the world as a place of freedom, I realize that it reflects laws of pure formless awareness instead of the rules I made up for it to obey. I will understand that peace, not war, abides in it. And I perceive that peace also abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me.
Okay.
What I'm saying here is when we perceive the world as a place of freedom, that is what will it is offering out to us an opportunity to see to find peace instead of turmoil by seeing the situation differently, by perceiving it differently.
Reflects the laws of God, the laws of love, pure formless awareness. So what you're doing by forgiving is interpreting everything according to different laws. Laws of oneness. And the more you do that, the more you reinterpret, the more you teach your mind that those laws are true. That you undo your belief in the ego's false laws, and then naturally peace arises.
Yeah, I think it's a straightforward one.
And that peace also abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me. So they share that awareness, even if they don't seem to. They believing in the ego. You recognize that underneath that, there is true awareness and there is peace that abides in, and there he actually uses the word heart. Doesn't use very often. Peace abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me. So it's a recognition of our true home together in this transcendent place where peace is guaranteed. So that's quite a powerful lesson to use anytime. I could see peace instead of this situation. Remember it. If ever you're feeling tempted to be upset, I could choose peace. I could see peace instead. I could perceive peace in this, even if I'm tempted to war, to anger, into conflict, into fear, and so on. Okay, happy with number 4?
Yeah.
Number 5.
My mind is part of God or love. I am very holy, aware of love. As I share the peace of the world with my brothers, I begin to understand that this peace comes from deep within myself. The world I look upon or perceive has taken on the awareness of my forgiveness or letting go, and shines forgiveness back at me, shows me the results of letting go. In this awareness, I begin to perceive what the illusions about myself kept hidden. I begin to understand the pure formless awareness of all living things, including myself, and their oneness with me.
Okay. Do those alternative terms and phrases make sense?
Yeah, I was struggling with the word holy when I read this lesson this morning.
What does it actually mean?
Yeah. So I am aware of love.
Yeah, well, I'm aware of pure formless awareness. That awareness is my awareness. So holiness is just that awareness. It's not a very well understood term. It's not a very well used term. I mean, you never hear in popular media and social media and in mainstream media, you never hear the word holy used, do you? You ever heard it used on the news? Oh, he had a very holy perception. I mean, you'd just about fall off your chair if they used it, wouldn't it? It's like, it's just not used. So it's not in common usage, and most people kind of think of, oh, well, holy is holier than thou. It's got some kind of negative connotation. But it's actually just the awareness of your fundamental awareness, pure formless awareness. When you're in that awareness, then you're holy. I'm very holy. My mind is in this holy state. It's only rooted in pure formless awareness. There's no separation going on. That's what it means. So it's descriptive of a state of mind rather than some kind of identity. I'm a holy man. They say, no, you're a holy man. Well, then people have started identifying with holy as some kind of label, giving them a form identity, but that's not true. It's descriptive of the state of mind you're in when you're aware of your own true awareness. When you're aware of pure formless awareness and you're rooted in that awareness, then you are a holy man or woman.
Interesting.
And you have to maintain that state. Well, now I'm holy, I've arrived. And then, the next moment something happens, it's like, oh, not so holy anymore because my mind's now gone back into separation. I'm thinking all kinds of separated thoughts. So it requires vigilance to remind yourself, I'm very holy. So right now, my mind is just aware of love or pure formless awareness. That's what makes me holy. If I lose the state, then I'm no longer holy. My mind is now split and I'm in separation. And I'm in an unholy state of mind. And that's just thought and emotion create that state. So it requires lots of vigilance to maintain this. And then the forgiveness. Do you understand? Forgiveness is letting go.
Yep.
And when he says, shines forgiveness back at me, which is wonderfully poetic, but again, a bit confusing. So what does that actually mean? Shines forgiveness back at me. Does it mean the world forgives me? I think a lot of people would get confused with that. Okay, because I forgive, other people will forgive me. Is that what it means? Or does it mean it shows me the results of my forgiveness? It shows me the results of letting go. I think that's what he means. So then I've just interpreted it directly and said, well, this awareness of letting go, when I let go, then I see the results of letting go. And it shines forgiveness back at me. It shows me that this works. It's much more straightforward.
Yeah.
Although less poetic. I mean, I will give wonderfully poetic. I love lovely language, but then is it understandable, which is really the main thing. No good if it's beautifully poetic but no one understands it. The whole point is to increase your understanding. Okay. So you want to give us a little summary of that last one?
So when I'm in awareness of my awareness of love, I'm sharing peace with my brothers. That comes from deep within my own awareness. And when I let go of the illusion and my ego thoughts, I see the result of that in my perceptions of the world.
Yeah, keep going.
And by doing that, I begin to perceive the illusions about myself. And I see everyone around me in their pure formless awareness. And that I'm one with everyone.
You start seeing that awareness is behind everyone and everything. They could have no existence if they didn't have that awareness. So it's a recognition of that awareness, no matter what is happening on the level of form, no matter what they think they're doing. As Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Forgive them, pure formless awareness. So translate that. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Do you want to try translating that? Make it into something that's personal. It's in the first person.
I let go of what I perceive you have done to me.
Because you don't know what you're doing, because you're confused. So from my forgive them, Father, for they know what they do, and say from my awareness of pure formless awareness, I let go of any judgment of my brothers, because I understand that they do not know what they're doing and they're confused. That's what Jesus is really saying.
But who are my brothers if we're all one?
Well, so on the level of form, your brothers are people who seem to have bodies. They seem to have a body, they seem to have a separate mind, they seem to have their own identity, their own personality. Those are your brothers. That identity, that form identity, isn't true. So in truth, we are the Son of God. We are the extension of pure formless awareness. That's the truth. But on the level of form, they seem to be brothers because they seem to have their own identity and their own bodies and so on. So when he uses these terms brothers, he's referring to this level of perception, which would seem to make them real, because we can perceive bodies, and we can perceive what the bodies seemingly do, and the person has a name, and the person has a personality, and they have certain character traits that are unique to them seemingly. Then we misidentify them. We say, well, this is the person. This is real. And this whole teaching is saying, no, it's not. They aren't separate from you. They are just this awareness. They are this pure formless awareness, and their form identity is not true. So I started recognizing that in everyone. As I recognize it in everyone and everything, what happens? I strengthen the recognition of it in myself, don't I? I can't see it in others if I don't see it in myself. So this is the fast track. Come back to our conversation about how you perceive your brothers is critical, because if you see your brother as separate, then you perpetuate the idea that you're separate. It's inevitable. See them as holy, see them as one with you in this pure formless awareness. Really get that. No matter what they do, then you undo the ego. You're undoing your belief that they are separate from you, and in the process you're undoing your belief that you are separate from them. So that's why perception of our brothers is so important. It's a major area of correction. To remind yourself, no, we're still one, irrespective of how they're behaving on the level of form. We are still one. Okay?
Yeah.
Any questions on number 5? So here's a little challenge for someone who'd like to take it up. Just connect all of these, just the key ideas of each lesson into one sentence that makes logical sense. Where it's all the one flows into another.
I am not the victim of the world I see because I have invented it.
No.
There is another way of looking.
And so, if you want to connect it, there is another way.
So there is another way of perceiving the world. where I could see peace
instead of what I now see.
instead of what I now see.
And realize that
Realize that my mind is part of love's, and I am very aware of love.
yeah. And that makes perfect sense if you string it all together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which shows you that the thought system is cohesive. The one thing leads to another. These are not independent, separate ideas. They're all related, connected into one cohesive thought system, which is I think one of the major reasons why he reviews. So that we start to see the interlinking. Instead of each lesson on its own, you're like, okay, do 5 at a time and see the connection between them.
Yeah, it's very clever how the 5 all relate to each other, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's a good, he's designed a good course. And by reviewing them, in this way, you see that really these are just different aspects of one thought system, different ideas related to one thought system that makes sense, which is why you can string them together and make sense of it. If you put in an ego statement into here, then it wouldn't make sense. It would just be a non sequitur in the logic. Okay. Any questions on the lesson?
I think it's good.
Happy with it?
No,
So we
sense.
can we could do a meditation now, or we can go into the text for today and read the text and then do a meditation at the end. What would you prefer?
Perhaps meditation just now.
Meditation now. Okay. Sue and John, you happy with that?
So yeah.
Feel like a meditation now? Happy with that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So does anyone need a comfort break, or are you happy to go straight into meditation?
Oh, I'll just take a minute comfort break actually.
Okay. So
Thank you.
take 2 minutes and then we'll do the med. Right. All right. Let's go into session, shall we? All right. So everyone ready? Let's start then. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, keep your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing into the stomach, blowing the stomach up like a balloon, clenching the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up the spine to your heart center. Put one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. Bring your attention into the present moment by focusing all of it on these subtle sensations of the breath and the body. Breathing in again. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up the spine into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Now just scan your mind. Look for any thoughts that are victim thoughts. Thoughts of being unfairly treated, anger, frustration, resentment, arising from any situation is a pretty good idea. Gives you a good indication that you're viewing yourself as a victim of the world you see. So notice all these thoughts. Remind yourself that I'm not the victim of the world I see or perceive. Just breathe in again to create some space, some light around this, whatever the situation is, these thoughts. And let them just dissipate as you listen to these words from Jesus and repeat them in your own mind as affirmations in the first person. How can I be the victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? My chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. Prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight at last. And so exhale to apply this teaching right now. Have a sense of blowing away all of your attachment to this world, attachment to the prison, chains that bind you, chains of belief that you are a victim of the world, that you are at the effect of the world rather than causative. This is a false belief. So you can let it all go now. blow it all away like a dark cloud, leaving you. Expel the last remaining air out. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. And you just rest here for a few moments in the peace and the stillness. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just rest in God, in this pure formless awareness, beyond the victim identity that we've all created for ourselves. Experience the peace that comes from this awareness. And you inhale, breathing in again. Imagine you breathing peace into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. All this peace rising up to your heart center, filling your heart. Put one hand on your heart. To feel that peace in your heart. Breathe in again, feel it drawing up the spine to your upper spine, to the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Remind yourself that I have invented the world I see or perceive. So you can look within at any thoughts going on there. You can open your eyes briefly, look around the world and say, I've invented the world I see. Close your eyes again, breathe in just to top yourself up. Air as well as this presence of truth. Now in your own mind, just repeat after me as an affirmation. So I read these words, commentary on today's lesson, this review lesson. I made up the prison in which I see or perceive myself. All I need do is recognize this, and I am free. I have deluded myself into believing it is possible to imprison the Son of God with extension of love or pure formless awareness, which is what I am. I was bitterly mistaken in this belief, which I no longer want. So exhale. Have a sense of just blowing this all away with the breeze of your breath. From the nothingness that it really is. From the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here. Peace in the stillness. Lies beyond the victim identity. Lies beyond the world that you've made up. The Son of God, or the extension of love, of this pure formless awareness that is our source, must be forever free. Say that to yourself. I must be forever free. I am as God or love or pure formless awareness created me, not what I would make of myself. I am where God or love or pure formless awareness would have me be, and not where I thought to hold myself prisoner. So with that firm intention, moving smoothly into the next inhale and the next idea. So breathing in through the lower stomach, blowing the stomach up like a light-filled balloon. As you breathing light in, clenching the sphincter muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. And just Draw the energy in and up the spine. You can imagine it's like a column of golden or white light rising up from the base of your spine to your heart center. Drawing it up into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the nerve. And just rest here for a few moments. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do. Just be still, be present, and from this present state, consider the next idea for review, which is there is another way of looking at or perceiving the world. Again, as you say this, it's another way of looking at or perceiving the world. You can open your eyes briefly, look around at the external world, close your eyes, and apply it equally to the internal world, whatever you're seeing within you. It's the same. So breathing in again, create some space, some light, call it some awareness. Awareness within which these ideas can just drop into a receptive mind, like pebbles in a pond on a very still, calm, windless day. So because the mind is so still, they just drop in and sink immediately into the mud of the pond, your subconscious, which is where they need it. So in this nice state, breathe in again if you need to. Listen to these words, say them as an affirmation in the first person. There is another way of looking at or perceiving the world. It's the purpose of the world, it's not the one I ascribed to it. There must be another way of looking at or perceiving it. I see or perceive everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of truth. I see or perceive the world as a prison, or God's Son or love's extension. Must be then that the world is really a place where he can be set free. So exhale, just letting go of these misperceptions about reality. Blowing them all away with the breeze of your breath, like dark clouds leaving you. Remind yourself that must be that the world is really a place where I can be set free. I would look upon the world as it is and see it as a place where Son of God or the extension of love or pure formless awareness finds its freedom. And just revel in that freedom right now, just observing what it feels like. And let go. Let go of all false beliefs. Go into the nothingness they really are. Nothing is something. So you rest in this pure formless awareness. Just like to see how changing your perception leads you inevitably to this holy place. Miracle leads you to be aware only of this place in your true mind. So breathing in again. Again, breathe in the essence of peace. You can imagine that looks like light, if you like, or just feel peace. Tap into the energy of peace. Breathe it into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, part of your mind, every fiber of your being. In the peace of God, peace that passes all understanding. Remind yourself that I could see or perceive peace instead of what I now see. So bring to mind any situation that is disturbing your peace in any way, shape, or form. Breathe the peace into that. Just infusing the situation with peace. You can imagine light coming into it that helps you, a golden or white light. Light is your true awareness, and the product of that awareness is peace. So I could see or perceive peace instead of what I now perceive in this situation. And then listen to these words again from Jesus and repeat them after me in the first person. So when I see or perceive the world as a place of freedom, I realize that it reflects the laws of God or love or pure formless awareness instead of the rules I made up for it to obey. I will understand that peace, not war, abides in it. And I will perceive that peace also abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me. And I exhale on the truth of that, just releasing anything that's not peaceful in your mind, dropping it into the peace, and called the peace of God, peace of pure formless awareness, passes all understanding. Just rest here for a few moments in the peace. It comes when you let go of all thoughts and emotions that disturb your peace. Sink inwards to the kingdom of heaven, state of pure formless awareness, in other words, in which peace is guaranteed. Peace is the condition of the kingdom, as Jesus taught us in the previous lesson. If you're not at peace, then you know you're not in pure formless awareness. So breathing in again, filling up the stomach like a light-filled balloon, clench the sphincter muscle, muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Lock the energy in, flow the energy up the spine, into your heart center. Draw it up into top of the inhale. Take another sip of air in. Remind yourself that my mind is part of God's or love's. I am very holy. In other words, I'm very aware of love or pure formless awareness. Not sometime in the past or future, but right now. My mind is part of God's or love's. I'm very holy. I'm very aware of this love that is everywhere. That's all encompassing, that encompasses me. This awareness of it, this pure formless awareness, is my true identity. Accept that deeply. Breathe into it. Imagine you breathe in light to every pore, every cell of your body, every corner of your mind, every fiber of your being. In the light of this awareness of love, pure formless awareness. So say to yourself again, in the first person, as I share the peace of the world, my brothers, I begin to understand that this peace comes from deep within myself. The world I look upon or perceive has taken on the light or the awareness of my forgiveness, of my letting go, and shines forgiveness back at me. In other words, it shows me the results of letting go. In this light or awareness, I begin to see or perceive what my illusions about myself kept hidden. Begin to understand the holiness, the pure formless awareness of all living things, including myself and their oneness with me. So I exhale on the truth of that. Have a sense of just blowing out any resistance, any ideas that you separate from anyone or anything. This awareness is universal, this awareness of your own pure formless awareness. It's universal. It's arising in your mind right now. So surrender into it, breathe into it, just breathing normally in and out through your nose, observing the subtle sensations of the breath. Imagine you breathing light into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, part of your mind, fusing into this light, true awareness and peace. And just rest here in the peace and the stillness. In a few moments. Let those moments extend to a few minutes. Just go into a timeless state. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, observe the breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. Relax more and more deeply, find more and more peace with each breath, and sink inwards to the kingdom of heaven, state of pure formless awareness that all these lessons are pointing to. You can experience it now. In fact, now is the only time you will ever experience it. So give yourself that gift for the next few minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Surrender. The next couple of minutes of deep silence, just know that you are. The mind is part of God's or love's, and you're very holy. You are aware of this awareness right now. So just sink into that awareness. Allow this awareness to arise completely holy and perfectly in your mind. The next few minutes of deep silence. If any thoughts arise, seemingly disturb this deep awareness, just observe them casually. Breathe into them. Imagine you breathing light, golden white light, just a light awareness into them, and say to yourself, I could see peace, I could perceive peace instead of this. Blow them away with the breeze of your breath into the nothingness they really are. Pull the stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And rest here in the peace and the stillness of your pure formless awareness for another couple of minutes of deep silence. And so just gently coming back from this very deep connected state into an awareness of your body and the breath, senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in, drawing the energy up the spine to your heart center, to the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale, smile. Remind yourself that I'm not the victim of the world I see because I've invented it. And so there's another way of looking at the world and whatever I experience in the world. If there's anything still remaining in your mind, it's disturbing your peace, remind yourself I could choose peace instead of this, could see peace instead of this. exhale it out. Let it all go. Let the air flow out of your mouth, the chest and the stomach suck back in. As the energy subside back down the front channel of your body into rest in your lower stomach and your groin. Lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. So on the count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling and touching with your hands. It's a subtle flow of air on your skin. Notice as that air flows in, you breathe it in. Maybe there's a subtle smell of it in your nose, a taste in your mouth. Noticing all these subtle sensations without judgment, just from this awareness. Your formless awareness doesn't judge. Simply be aware and not interpret or label or judge these sense perceptions in any way. And that keeps you rooted in pure formless awareness. It's how you stay connected to the source and operate in the world but not be of the world. Your thinking is coming from outside the world. Notice what you're hearing, surrounding environment. Again, this calm, detached way without judgment. And now on the count of 3, you can open your eyes. Take a minute just to look around the room, observing various things in the room, objects, people, and remind yourself that my mind is part of God's. My mind is part of love's. And so I'm very holy. I'm very aware of this loving presence in everything I see. Previous lessons, God is in everything I see, love is in everything I see, because love is in my mind. Remind yourself of that. Feel this calm, peaceful presence that's always there, just underlying all of your sense perceptions. It's in everyone and everything. And if you stay rooted in this awareness, you cannot help but experience peace. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. So let's go into the text now. Okay. See if Lucy's still there. Lucy's still there. Great. Okay, so this one is called The Holy Encounter, section 3 of chapter 8, if you want to follow along in your book, Lucy. Section 3, chapter 8, and it is 8 paragraphs of short to medium size, so not too bad in terms of length. So do you want to kick it off, Sue or John? One of you read the first paragraph, please.
Yeah, the holy encounter. Glory to God in the highest. Glory to pure formless awareness in the highest, and to you because it has so willed it. Ask and it shall be given. Ask and it shall be given you, because it has already been given. Ask for light and learn that you are light.
Yeah.
You want to understand.
Translate light as awareness.
Ask for awareness and learn that you are awareness. If you want understanding and enlightenment, you will learn it. Because your decision to learn it is the decision to listen to the teacher who knows of awareness and can therefore teach it to you. There is no limit on your learning because there is no limit on your mind. There is no limit on his teaching because he was created to teach. Understanding his function perfectly, he fulfills it perfectly because that is his joy and yours.
Okay. Want to take that from the top?
There's just one sentence in there that kind of throws me off a bit, which is ask and it shall be given you, because it has already been given. The first part of that sentence, ask and it shall be given you, which kind of flips me into this whole law of manifestation thing, which is cul-de-sac.
Yeah, well, asking is in a sense unnecessary because it's already been given.
Yeah.
But we ask because we seem to have denied it. So the asking is the true prayer of the heart to say, you know, I want to experience this glory, this pure formless awareness. So it's a statement on two levels there. Ask and it shall be given you. That's the level of our perception, our understanding in this world. We seem to be separated from it. That's why we're asking, because it has already been given. Because it's already there. So really what you're asking is for what's already there to be revealed.
Yes.
You're asking for your own pure formless awareness. That is the foundation of your mind to be revealed to you. So that's the true prayer of the heart. The prayer for forgiveness, as he says, is simply the prayer to ask your perception to be corrected.
So ask is really a let me see again.
Yeah, it's a reminder to yourself, really. You're not asking something entity outside of yourself. It's saying, I'm desiring something else here. The asking is, I'm wanting some other state than what I'm in. If I feel like I'm separated from my own awareness, then you ask for some guidance. You ask for help, and it shall be given to you because it has already been given, because that awareness is your awareness. It's already there. So for instance, you know, in your forgiveness opportunities today, you kind of had to go into that process to ask, didn't you? You're like, okay, I need some help here. So I'm going to ask, and I'm going to do the process as my way of asking for some help. And then it's given to you because it's already been given to you. That awareness was always there. It was just covered over by the false ideas and thoughts of the ego.
Yeah, that's a good way of seeing it. Yeah.
It's already there, and the asking is just now your intention to say, yes, I want this awareness. I want this awareness back into my mind because I seem to have separated myself from it. So it's necessary if we think we separated, but in truth, it's, you know, ultimately it's unnecessary. You don't have to ask for what you already have. But it's in the two orders of reality. You see, so and he does this a lot. You know, first part of the sentence, ask and it shall be given you. That's on this level of form in this time-space continuum. It seems like you ask him and then it's given, but actually in truth it's already been given because there is no time and this is already true. So here you might be rooted onto the timeline in a separated state. So, you know, for instance, your situation, you had some kind of hangover from the past, really, wasn't it? It was like, okay, there's past history and that those thoughts and emotions are surfacing again. And now you're asking by doing the forgiveness, the 10-step process, you're asking to see it differently. So really what you're doing is you're referencing to your higher awareness and saying, come in to my perception and show me another way of looking at this. And that's the true prayer. It's a prayer for forgiveness. If you want to forgive, you want to change your perception. And it will always be given because that's already there. That awareness is there. It's never gone away. You just have to remind yourself that it's there. So hence, you know, ask and it shall be given you because it has already been given you. It's just a statement in two orders of reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
The next few lines.
Oh, sorry. I think the rest of it is all saying that if everything we need is there if we genuinely ask for it.
Yeah, so it's your decision. Why you're not in prison. It's your decision. If you want this, because it's already been given, it is your true awareness, then you just need to ask for it and be sincere. Yes, I really want to understand. I really want to know the truth. Then it becomes your decision to learn it and to listen to the teacher. He's talking about the Holy Spirit, or the awareness of oneness, which knows of light. It knows of awareness, right? So the awareness of oneness knows of awareness of the truth and can therefore teach it to you, right? It is that awareness. It's the remembrance of that. It's the awareness of that awareness of oneness. So of course it knows of it. There is no limit on your learning. So you can't be limited because you are unlimited awareness. So ultimately that's your learning is going to restore your mind to that infinite, eternal place where there's no limits on your mind. And the last two sentences make sense? There's no limit on his teaching.
Oh, yeah, but it's just saying, reiterating there's no limit, and he understands his function perfectly because that is his joy and ours.
He was created to teach. Again, sort of an idea of creating. Again, the Holy Spirit was never really created. The Holy Spirit is the remembrance of a state that we've always had, that simply now becomes a remembrance because we've interposed the ego between us and God. So this remembrance is then our teacher. This is its purpose, to teach us. And this is our shared joy. The more we remember this awareness, the more joy comes into our mind. Okay, happy with that? Do you want to give a little summary of that? So key points on that.
I think the key point is that, everything we need is there when we genuinely ask for it. When we genuinely recognize genuinely recognize we want it and ask for it.
And there's no limit in our learning of it.
Yeah.
That's the second point, that we are not limited in our learning. We will ultimately learn fully and understand fully, because what we're learning is limitless and infinite, of a teacher that knows that. It's just a remembrance of our own divinity, really. Remembrance of our own pure formless awareness is teaching us to remember that which is in our mind still, but which we denied. Okay, happy with number one?
Yeah.
Moving on to number two. Sue, do you want to read number two for us? Kindly.
To fulfill the awareness, pure formless awareness perfectly, is the only joy and peace that can be fully known, because it is the only function that can be fully experienced. When this is accomplished, then there is no other experience. Yet the wish experience will block its accomplishment, because the awareness of pure formless awareness cannot be forced upon you, being an experience of total willingness.
Or of total awareness.
Right, being an experience of total awareness. The remembrance of awareness understands how to teach this, but you do not. That is why you need it, and why pure formless awareness gave it to you. Only his teaching will release your awareness to that of love, uniting it with his power and glory and establishing them as yours. You share them as pure formless awareness shares them, because this is the natural outcome of their being.
Okay. So I'm going to unpack that from the top. This little summary, maybe. The key points. Anything stand out for you?
He's talking about our awareness of being pure formless awareness is the only function that we can actually fully experience. There's no other function necessary for us.
It's the only.
And the Holy Spirit, the remembrance of oneness, can teach this to us, and that's why we have him. We have it.
Which makes complete sense. Only the remembrance of pure formless awareness will help you to restore your mind to that pure formless awareness. It's completely obvious. So only that teaching will release your will to God. In other words, will restore your mind, your awareness to pure formless awareness. So only the remembrance of oneness will restore your awareness to pure formless awareness. That's how you could translate the first part of number 6. Uniting it with its power and glory and establishing them as yours. And the power and the glory are just being in that state of pure formless awareness. It feels totally expansive. It's not limited. It's happy. It's joyful. It's peaceful. And then you share them. So you share in these gifts as God shares them, as pure formless awareness itself shares them, because this is the natural outcome of their being. So in all these ways, he's just pointing us to the oneness of it all. Right? We are that awareness. That awareness is our awareness. And these gifts, power and the glory, the joy and the peace, the love to experience are just part of this awareness, which is our awareness in truth. And these are the natural love, peace, and joy, the natural outcome of what we are. Okay, happy with that?
Yeah.
Can you give us a little summary? 30 seconds? A minute? Key points? No?
Our true function is experience to experience pure formless awareness, which being taught to us by the Holy Spirit, with the remembrance of oneness. And that is how we come to know pure joy and peace. And we share it because it is an extension of ourselves.
Yeah, pretty good. It's actually really, you started to get, as we work through this, the idea that it's just one simple idea that he's trying to communicate all the time. Many different ways of saying it. He's got different language, but it's pointing just to this, the simplicity of, this awareness is your awareness. This awareness brings love, peace, and joy. You're right, because that's the awareness is your awareness, and love and peace and joy are natural consequences of that awareness. And you share that with everyone. Everyone is included in that. Everyone has the capacity for that awareness if they so choose. Okay, happy with number 2?
Yeah.
Lucy, you want to read number 3 for us?
Yeah. The perfect creator is what? How would I translate that?
The perfect creator, which we're on number 3, the will of the Father.
Yeah. The will of the Father. Bit further down on that, it says the perfect creator.
Okay, perfect creator. So creator is source, Father is source, Son is extension.
Yeah. The perfect creator is just source, yeah?
I've got the temperature.
Yeah, you could say the perfect source.
Okay.
I give it a go.
The will of source and of the extension are one by their extensions. Their extension is the result of their oneness, holding their unity together by extending their joint will.
Well, and what is awareness?
Oh yeah, will is awareness, isn't it? Okay. Almost boils down to the same word, isn't it? Awareness for everything. Their joint awareness. This is perfect awareness.
Yeah, or extension. You notice it uses extension, creation, extension. It's really the same thing. This is perfect creation or perfect extension by the perfectly extended. Oh.
Okay.
In union with the perfect source.
In union with the perfect source.
So we are just the extension of this pure formless awareness that is our source, which means we're not really separate from it at all. Again, we're using language to try and explain what actually is just one. Like our awareness is that awareness. But in our separated state, we say, okay, well, we're extending the source because we feel like we're separated from it. So hence the use of language that seems to be dualistic, but it's not. It's just pointing us back to the state of awareness where we recognize, look, this is just our awareness.
Yeah.
That's it. Our awareness is that pure formless awareness. So we are one with the source of that awareness. If that awareness is our awareness, we must be one with its source. It's obvious.
Yeah. Okay. So source must give sourcehood to his extension. That kind of works. Not great English, but I like it.
Yeah, sourcehood.
Because his own sourcehood must be extended outwards. You who belong to God have the remembrance function of extending his sourcehood by placing no limits upon it. Let the awareness of love teach you how to do this, for you can know what it means only of love itself.
Okay, makes sense.
Well, kind of. I mean, basically, remember source, and love is extended from source, and you are source.
Well, if you're an extension, if you think of it logically, you're an extension of that awareness, and that awareness really is the same as you. Now it extends through your mind and must be extended outwards. So you create or extend as God created.
Yeah.
In one line. So your creations, your extensions of love, peace, and joy are also God's extensions. That's right. It's one awareness. It's the same awareness that's experiencing these so-called creations. So what he's trying to get us to do is accept the source and then extend outwards as in our perception, as the source does to us. So we become like many sources, which in truth means we are one with the source, right? That source is our source. We are that.
Mm-hmm.
So it extends through us as us.
Mm-hmm.
There's no place in our mind where it's not. But I think this idea of extension is that you allow it through you. You allow this awareness to come through you and to direct all of your thoughts and your words and your actions. So you become kind of a clear channel for it. And then you extend as it extends. So the love and the peace and the joy that you feel, you then extend. And in this world, that looks like, oh, well, I'm actually expressing it out. I might be speaking it or acting it out. And then I learn that this is my source, and this wants to extend through me. And this is your purpose in this world, is to extend the source. And learn, therefore, that you are the source. If you keep extending something, then you must be it. Yeah. Your mind starts to learn, well, I must be this. I have this source of infinite love and peace and joy in me. And it never gives out. It's unlimited. It's limitless in its supply. I can give and give and give from that source, and it will never run out. So then, that's true abundance, really. What he's teaching us here is this true abundance. It comes from drawing on our source, giving it out freely, and then receiving it freely. So it's like the flow of water. Water's got to flow, otherwise it gets stagnant. If you dam it up and you're not giving it out, then it gets stagnant and it's not healthy anymore. So it needs to flow through you. So the outward flow of it then confirms in your mind that source is in you, and that is a limitless source. It's an unlimited source of love and peace and joy and everything that that you truly want. And so you learn it by giving it. And as you give it, you know that you have it. In the same way as the ego, projects guilt and then confirms in your mind that you have guilt. The more you project guilt, the more you confirm that you have guilt to give. In the same way, the more you extend love, the more you confirm that you have lots of love to give.
Yeah.
Which makes complete sense. It's just stating it in language that maybe is a little bit difficult. With fatherhood and son, and some people get very confused by this language. But if you simplify it and say, well, look, it's source and its extension, and you are the extension of that source. And therefore you become like the source in extending. That's what he's saying. You become exactly like the source, extending to you. You now extend to your extensions. And those extensions are the love and the peace and the joy that you feel And then you might express those in this world as actions and words to others. And then that becomes the extension of God through you, expressed in form as whatever it is, actions, words. And that teaches you that you are that source and that you have it in limitless supply, which is the whole idea, that you learn this. And you teach it and you learn it. So starting to see it's a very simple idea, very simple logic, and he repeats this over and over. You know, as you give, you receive. You give it out, and then you know that you have it. And only in the giving of it, the extending of it, do you confirm in your mind that you have it. And so this is the way of undoing the ego. If you keep giving it, then you must know that you have it. But if you don't give freely and generously, then you block it, because then you're saying, well, I don't have it to give. You notice the ego always tries to block the flow in your life. So, oh, no, you need to be careful. Because the source is limited. Isn't that what it's saying? I need to be careful because my resources are limited. And so I'm really denying that there's this infinite source in my mind. And we do that all the time. Oh, you know, what happens if I don't have enough money, let's say? Well, what are we saying there? You're saying, well, actually my source is now not infinite. It's limited and it's finite. And so I feel fearful. I feel, oh, well, maybe I won't have enough. And that cuts me off from the source of true supply, unlimited love, and puts me into an illusion of scarcity and separation from my source. And the ego is continuously engaging in trying to do that. So this is really the key to abundance. If you just go to your source and say, well, this source is there in unlimited supply and I can access it, and then I can allow it through me to give into the world however it wants to, then you have the key to true abundance in this world. And it's not an abundance that you're trying to manifest. Oh, I'm trying to get this, whatever it is, in order to feel better about myself. It's not that. It's like, no, I'm tapping into that feeling first, the feeling of love and peace and joy that's in abundant supply coming from my source. Now I'm extending that from that feeling, that heart feeling. I'm extending that in my actions and in my words. And so now it flows through me. So it's inside out. I'm not trying to get a result externally so that I can then feel better about myself. It starts with the feeling of connecting to that source and then a natural extension outwards. So inside out manifestation, that's the Holy Spirit's way of doing it, rather than outside in. Oh, I need to get a result in order to feel better. It's just outside in and upside down. Okay? Happy with number 3?
Yeah.
Can you summarize it to me?
You're it.
Huh? I'm it.
You're it. Well, we're all it. We're it. We're source. We're from the same source. Extend it. Just extend love. And you are it.
As we extend it, we come to know that that's what we are.
Yeah.
That's really the key teaching. Okay, number 4.
I think it's me. I'm getting a bit overextended because I'm falling asleep, John.
Okay, well, we've got a few to go, so let's try and get through it, shall we?
When you meet anyone, remember it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose yourself. Whenever two sons of God meet, whenever two extensions of pure formless awareness meet, they are given another chance at salvation. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there with you in remembrance of you. So what he's saying here is, as we give out, we get back reflected to us.
And remember that every encounter is a holy encounter.
Yeah.
So what does that actually mean? What does a holy encounter then mean?
It's an opportunity to realign with awareness, to forgive. So
an opportunity for that awareness of truth, of your pure formless awareness, for both parties, both sons of God. So both people, apparently, who seem to be knocking around in bodies of separate identities, both now have an opportunity through the encounter to get in touch with that awareness.
I think number 3 is interesting. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. I think that word treat is as you perceive him and act on that perception.
Yeah. As you behave towards him, treat him, you will treat yourself. So the golden rule, do unto others if you have them do unto you, is expressed here. Because as you think of him and as you act towards him, so you will think of yourself. It's inevitable. Angry with him, well, guess what? You're angry with yourself. Who's experiencing anger? You are. You're experiencing the state of anger or fear or whatever it is. And so you experience it. You will think of yourself as that. And then you're an angry person. Then you're separated from pure formless awareness. So every encounter then becomes an opportunity to extend this awareness. You are the source of it. To connect to the previous paragraph, you recognize that you are the same source of the awareness, like a mini source, and you can extend that to this person. And this is both of your salvation when you do that. Not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it of yourself. Receiving it yourself. So, practically speaking, people might go, whoa, that's a bit of a big ask. How do I give salvation to someone? But you give it through loving, a loving, kind perception of it. And then loving, kind words and actions. That's the giving of salvation. Because you're showing that person another thought system, another way of being. And showing them that this is true. Love is still there. Love is still true, and that this is always there. I'm always there with you, in remembrance of you. So this I am presence is always there. Pure formless awareness is always there in remembrance of you, your true self. Okay, happy with number 4?
Yep.
Sue, you want to read number 5?
The goal of the curriculum, regardless of the teacher you choose, is know thyself. There is nothing else to seek. Everyone is looking for himself and for the power and glory he thinks he has lost. Whenever you are with anyone, you have another opportunity to find them. Your power and glory are in him because they are yours. The ego tries to find them in yourself alone because it does not know where to look. The Holy Spirit, the remembrance of oneness, teaches you that if you look only at yourself, you cannot find yourself because that is not what you are. Whenever you are with a brother, you are learning what you are because you are teaching what you are. He will respond either with pain or with joy, depending on which teacher you are following. He will be imprisoned or released according to your decision, and so will you. Never forget your responsibility to him, because it is your responsibility to yourself. Give him his place in the kingdom, in the state of oneness, and you will have yours.
Okay. You want to, anything stand out for you there first? A couple of key points, and then give us a little summary.
So the goal of the curriculum, by which he means this course, presumably. Well, no,
It means the curriculum of the Holy Spirit, whether you're doing it through A Course in Miracles or not, is know thyself. So whether it's regardless of the teacher you choose, even if it's the ego's version of the curriculum, that's the goal, is to know thyself.
Right.
That's what we're here to learn. So the ego's got its own version of the curriculum. It's going to teach you that you are what you're not.
Yeah. So he says everyone is looking for himself and the power and glory he thinks he has lost. And we can only find them when we look outside ourselves, in our brothers.
So it's a major way we can see it. If you see it in your brothers, it's like the fast track, because you're seeing it in them, you must see it in your own mind. If you look only at yourself, so that, remember, Lucy, you shared that Osho little talk about, you're alone. That was interesting, because what he was saying, I mean, I understood what he was saying. You're alone because your inner self is your inner self. But in truth, you're not alone in that self. When you're in that awareness, you're not actually alone. So what Jesus is then saying is, okay, we'll take that awareness and extend it to your brothers and recognize that we actually share. We share. We are one. We're not really alone at all. Aloneness is an idea of the ego. Where instead of alone, just take a T instead of the L and say we are at one. We are at one, and to recognize that then in your brothers. And so, like, I think that's actually maybe a major difference in approach between, say, the Course and some of the Eastern teachings, because they're saying, well, go within and find it there. Jesus is saying, yeah, go within, find it there, but then extend it to your brothers and see it everywhere. See it in your brothers.
I think the thing is, though, that the Eastern teachings that came to the West were geared around our obsession with relationship and sex, and Osho was definitely on that trajectory. He was like, stop looking.
Stop looking at other people.
Yeah, stop looking, but go into it. His idea was to go into it. You went into it by becoming even more crazy about it in order that you just let it go. That was his way. So I think the way that he's speaking is of that kind of ilk. It's like kind of Eastern interpretation for the West of its time. Because it was
the idea that oh well, I need someone else. It's almost like the undoing. I understand, but it's not ultimately true, because you're not ultimately alone. If you go into that source, you're not alone. You're actually one with everyone in that source. Only place you're not really alone. So then alone is not really the correct description for it. It's an infinite, expansive state of mind in which you can really start to see or feel that you are one with everyone in that place. Although there's no physical bodies, there's no personalities there, but the source, the essence, is one. And now you can extend that to your brothers. If you can connect with that yourself, then you extend it to them. The more you extend it to them and see it in them, the more you connect with that source. You have that feeling yourself. So whichever way you do it, you feel the source, and then you extend it, and then it stimulates the feeling. It's all designed to help you to connect with this awareness.
What you said just now, Lucy, was interesting about Osho and his theory of if you're going to give something up, you go into it deeply. Do you think that's why he had the 70-odd Rolls Royces?
Well, actually, they were just gifts. They just came to him. He was receiving, rather than him being obsessed. In a way, he was receiving, just so much money from people who wanted to be his sannyasins. But he kind of
people gave him Rolls Royces.
I don't know how it worked, but they gave him Rolls Royces, yeah. But he was showing, because he still had quite an ascetic life, even though he was surrounded by, what was going on, the goings on. He wasn't of it, if that makes sense. He sort of, he was doing a thing. He was doing quite a different thing to anybody else, because he was working with like hippies, really, who and people who just had very excessive lives, and drug addicts, and he was doing a very different kind of approach. But it was still go through the way of the world to get to the center of the temple, almost, go through it, go right through the middle of it. Don't try and push it away, basically.
Interesting approach. So I'm not sure. I haven't studied his work, so I don't know how effective it was. But
shall I read the next one?
Yeah. Are we happy with number 5?
Sorry, Sue, I didn't mean to usurp you there.
No, please do.
We're all getting a bit tired, aren't we, I think?
She's quite happy to be usurped.
Right, I'll usurp you then.
Usurp away.
Out of love for you, out of our one-month.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you. I think we did about half of a summary there, so reasonable.
It's contained in the next one. We can tackle the next one together. The state of oneness cannot be found alone. Thanks, Sue, you're with me. And you who are the state of oneness cannot find yourself alone. To achieve the goal of the curriculum, then, you cannot listen to the ego, whose purpose is to defeat its own goal. The ego does not know this because it does not know anything. But you can know it, and you will know it if you are willing to look at what the ego would make of you. This is your responsibility, because once you have really looked at it, you will accept the at-one-ment for yourself. What other choice could you make? Having made this choice, you will understand why you once believed that when you met someone else, you thought he was someone else. And every holy remembrance, every remembered.
Well, that's every aware encounter, I suppose you could translate it. Every aware
encounter in which you enter fully will teach you this is not so. So he's saying that, the purpose of this is that you understand that what the ego is up to is not who you are, and that actually the ego the whole point is well, there's a point. The whole point is the at-one-ment, and the ego is part of that. It's it's looking, you're looking directly at the ego, like what we were talking about Osho. It's like you look directly at it, and when you look directly at it, you can begin to see through it, and actually its role then will be to give itself up. Except it doesn't realize that, because it doesn't know how to do that, because it doesn't know anything.
The part of your mind that does know and that can make that choice.
Exactly. So that, so then there is that part of you that is that will help you to understand that actually we are not separate beings, and that we are one being, that we are one, that we
One awareness.
One awareness, yeah.
We're not even separate beings. People say, well, you're a being and you're a being. No, it's one being. That's the whole point.
One awareness.
No separate being, one being, one awareness. And that person that you meet, that you thought was someone separate, is actually that awareness. That's all they are, disguised as a person. That awareness covered over with all the ego's thoughts and beliefs, and then projected out. We've gone out of its mind into a body that looks like a person to us. But actually, it's just a covering. The person is that this awareness, pure formless awareness in disguise. That's all they are. Heavy disguise sometimes, very heavy, and it seems to be real, that disguise. But actually, you're always meeting that awareness, which is your own awareness, which then makes it into a holy encounter. Namaste, I see you. Well, I see the essence of you. I see that awareness that's in me. That awareness in me sees that awareness in you. That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Which is the unconditional love, or divine love, or agape love they talk about. That awareness in me acknowledges and honors that same awareness in you. Yeah. I don't love you. I, separate self, love you, separate self, is a complete delusion. You can't really do that, because that's not love then. That's attachment to a separate, to two separate identities that make separation real. So I am you is more accurate. I see you as myself. That's the namaste greeting. That then is the holy encounter. That's why in the greeting, if you say it and you really experience what it means, there's an unconditional love that's arising there. I see you as myself. Namaste. So in a simple word, that translates it, that makes it into a holy encounter, if you really get what you're saying, which is a great greeting, isn't it? Namaste. And then from there on, you set the tone for the encounter. Namaste. You start the encounter with that and you end it with that. I see you as myself. Okay, so from that framework, now we interact as the same mind. If there seems to be disagreement, then maybe we can just overcome that and remember that we are the same awareness. And so every encounter then becomes the holy encounter that reminds us of that awareness. It's really, really simple, but it's very profound, isn't it? It's like, wow, actually, if I lived this way, if I really lived this way, and every encounter with anyone was a holy encounter, I really remember that I'm just seeing my own awareness. My life would be quite different, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I would then, every encounter would be teaching me my awareness. Every encounter could be pretty amazing. Wow, I'm feeling that expanded awareness from every encounter. Pretty, yeah, that's a pretty transformed life, because we're encountering people all the time.
It is.
Well, how many encounters do you have in a day with people? On an average day, several, maybe more. Even if you're texting someone, that's an encounter. Okay, so remember, you're texting someone. Really, this is just my own awareness I'm communicating with. And it's to like pierce the veil of illusion that wants to separate you and go, no, no, this is actually someone else. You're saying that they're not really someone else. And when you've really looked at the ego and made the choice for it one month, then you will see this. You have to see that what you believed was someone else is not really someone else. That they are one with you. Okay. Do you understand what he says? What other choice could you make? Do you understand who he's addressing there? The you.
Mm.
So we've talked about the idea of the decision maker. So you have a you. Often he's addressing the you as the decision maker in your mind. That's an awareness in your mind that can choose between the ego and the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
It sits between them and says, okay, so which shall I choose? And ultimately, if you keep choosing correctly, then that awareness is the Holy Spirit's awareness. But there seems to be a choice that needs to be made. You still have a decision at that point in your awakening. What other? So realize eventually, well, what other choice could you really make? Because there is no other choice to be made. So you collapse the idea of choice.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Happy with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just a little summary?
Yeah. No, my brain doesn't work anymore, but I totally do get it. I like words aren't I'm a bit like that at the moment. But
Okay.
I'm getting it. Thank you.
I've had it, Jono.
Okay.
You had it too.
Can you persevere for 2 more paragraphs?
Okay.
Number 7. I think it's your turn.
You can encounter only part of yourself because you are part of pure formless awareness, who is everything. Its power and glory are everywhere, and you cannot be excluded from them. The ego teaches that your strength is in you alone. The awareness of oneness teaches that all strength is in pure formless awareness, and therefore in you. Pure form love's awareness. Love wills no one suffer. It does not will anyone to suffer for a wrong decision, including you. That is why it has given you the means for undoing it. Through its power and glory, all your wrong decisions are undone completely, releasing you and your brother from every imprisoning thought any part of the extension of oneness holds. Wrong decisions have no power because they are not true. The imprisonment they seem to produce is no more true than they are. So he's emphasizing here that there's no reason for there's no such thing as a wrong decision. Behind that is the idea of, therefore, there's no possible source of guilt, as I read it. And that's the main thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. And these decisions have no power. They're not true. So we can undo them completely simply by changing our mind.
Yeah.
God wills no one suffer. I mean, it's quite pertinent for your experience this afternoon.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Life doesn't will you suffer for this experience.
No.
Well, it just says, well, just let it go. You know, if you've got a wrong decision, if it's causing you pain and suffering, then just let it go. And then it has no power over you, and your mind's restored to its true state, which is at that of love or pure formless awareness. And so that imprisonment that you felt is no more true than were the wrong decisions.
Mm.
And it just all just evaporates, disappears into the nothingness it really was. Okay? I'm happy with number 7?
Yeah.
Okay, last paragraph then.
Power and glory belong to God alone. So belong to pure formless awareness alone, and so do you. Pure formless awareness gives whatever belongs to it because it gives of itself, and everything belongs to it. Giving of yourself is the function it gave you. Fulfilling it perfectly will let you remember what you have of it, and by this you will remember also what you are in it. You cannot be powerless to do this because this is your power. Glory is the gift of pure formless awareness to you, because that is what it is. See this glory everywhere to remember what you are.
Okay. So any thoughts on that?
Well, it's about remembering that pure formless awareness of which we are part is the power and the glory that's been given to us. Glory is God's gift to us because that is what is.
So just being in this awareness is the glory. And it's just an experience, really. What he's pointing to is nothing on the level of form. I think a lot of traditional Christian teaching, they mistake glory for some kind of worldly glory. So then we build big churches and we have, expensive ornaments and somehow is glorifying God. But actually the glory is the inner state of pure formless awareness. That brings just such a deep peace and experience of love and joy, bliss, ecstasy. This is the glory of God that he's referring to. And see it everywhere. See that this is everywhere. Because that's what you are. So gain the message as you see it in others, so you see it in yourself. It's confirmed. Okay. Any questions on that? So key takeaway from the section. Would you say that is like the key point?
Well, you are the love of pure formless awareness, the awareness of pure formless awareness, and whatever you extend out is what you essentially are. I'm not sure that's the right term, but
what you teach yourself, you are as you extend it. So.
Oh, that's it. So what you teach yourself, what you teach yourself, you become more of. You are.
So every encounter. I mean, for me, this is like, just remember, every encounter is an opportunity for that awareness to arise in your mind as well as in the others. So see every encounter. And imagine, try this tomorrow. Okay, every encounter I have is a holy encounter. No matter what it is, could be just a casual, transactional encounter at the supermarket, or it could be a conversation with a friend, or it could be sending a text. But if you remember, like, okay, this is a holy encounter that can bring this awareness of my true self to me. It brings a much greater depth to every relationship that you have, even with the supermarket teller, because that person is that awareness, is your awareness in disguise. And just recognizing that is part of lifting the veil to and seeing the glory everywhere. It's like, oh wow, oh there's my awareness. Oh, there's my awareness again. There it is again. It's everywhere. And so you teach yourself that it must be in you. So I think it's a major And it's a major part of the teaching of the course is in how you perceive others in your relationship to others as a way of awakening yourself. This course is quite unique in the way it approaches relationships as these opportunities for holy encounters. So for me, that's a big takeaway, and that's something you can apply. Okay, well, go and apply it tomorrow. Every encounter, remind yourself, this is a holy encounter. And let me access that awareness that I have in truth in my mind now through this. And then how does that awareness express through me to this person? And you can't help but have much more loving, kind, encounters. So give it a go and share the results tomorrow afternoon. You've got tomorrow morning to give it a try. We've got a session tomorrow at 1:30. So give it a try. So shall we just close out with a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
I'll actually read this last paragraph to you in the meditation. So close your eyes. Connect with your breath. Take a nice deep breath in. And just breathe in the power and the glory that belong to God alone, this source of awareness. And recognize that so do you. You also belong to this awareness. And this awareness gives whatever belongs to itself because it gives of itself and everything belongs to it, including you. So just breathe it in, allow it in, don't resist it. The giving of yourself is the function that it gave you. You're giving this true awareness. So exhale, have a sense of extending it. Fulfilling it perfectly will let you remember what you have of it. And by this, you'll remember also what you are in it. So as you give it, so you receive it, is another way of saying that. You cannot be powerless to do this, because this is your power. So breathe that power in. Every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind is in this glorious power. Which is your own true awareness. It's always been there. You just denied it. Cut yourself off from it. Glory is God's gift to you. Glory is the gift of pure formless awareness to you. Because that is what it is. See this glory everywhere. To remember what you are. So as you exhale, just extend it. Glory is the love and the peace and the joy that you feel. Extend it to all your brothers. So your family, partners, friends, social network. Just feel this glory extending to all of them. Rest here for a few moments, recognizing that this awareness is your awareness. You are always there. It's always with you. You can extend it out without fear that you're ever going to run out. You give freely and generously from this awareness because it is infinite and eternal in nature. So that's what you commit to doing. From now on, every encounter with another person is a holy encounter, opportunity to extend this awareness and confirm in your mind that you are this awareness. So remember that tomorrow, carry it with you into bed. So it is said, so it is done. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and continue on with your evening. So hopefully really connected, expanded state, which will carry through to tomorrow. So thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Jono.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
See you tomorrow afternoon.
Much love. Not I. I will be being taken for lunch for my birthday.
Okay. Well, oh, it's your birthday. Okay.
It's my birthday on the
My
6th.
birthday, Lucy.
Thank you.
6th.
It's on the 6th, but I'm